Welcome in to a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered here by Go Chevrolet. Promptly on time at 7:08 here on this Wednesday.
Right.
It's all good, man.
Hey,
it's all good.
Let's skip the ads. Okay, we skipped them.
We in.
They skipped automatically.
Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, as all of them are powered and driven by Go Chevrolet. Our water is True Blue Water, trubluewater.com. You can get on the delivery route by just logging online. You can also get into some Papa Earl's Spice over locally, wherever you grocery shop. Hi Neighbors, Calandros, Rouse's. Our phone lines today, our guests via the phone lines are brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group. We'll talk to Nick Underhill coming up at 8:30 this morning. Some Saints questions. Trade deadline comes and goes in the NFL. No deals struck for the New Orleans Saints, including no OBJ back home. Looks like the most depressed and pissed off person about it is OBJ Sr. Got a DM into Papa.
Hey, he did some serious work on that highlight film.
He did, man.
Actually, I don't know, non-highlight film, I guess.
He cut up
I got the
3 straight weeks of Odell just hand in the air, wide open. Missed opportunities for one of the dynamic wide receivers in the NFL. We'll talk a little bit about the trade deadline, NFL stuff. Nick Underhill coming up here in the second hour today. That'll be around 8:30. Ed Orgeron was speaking yesterday, very transparent about his team, man. We have said this before, and we'll talk a little bit more about it coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show, but a lot of opposing teams really put together their game plan by listening to Ed Orgeron's press conference. I'm not playing around. LSU's got a couple of staff members that have been on other SEC schools that have really even told the staff that, and we have talked to some coaches around the country, around the conference, that say, yes, it is routine when you play LSU to watch all of the media that Ed Orgeron does, because 90% of the games he's playing, and he's going to give you something like,
somebody's got to tell him. Somebody had to tell him he just doesn't care.
Well, it just, like he said earlier this week, Sage Ryan's out. That's good for Saban to know. Now you know. You don't even have to worry about 15. He's not going to be in the.
I don't know if he was worried about much though.
No, I don't think he was either. But it's just those types of tidbits that he'll drop inside of press conferences.
Unavailable.
Yeah, right. He's out for the year. Oh, thanks.
No. Well, that's the thing. He won't say that. He'll just say unavailable.
Yeah.
It is unavailable. So now when you hear that, you know that means just out for the year now.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that. World Series comes to a close last night. Matuk called it. If you were listening to the Jordy Culotta Show, he has been on the Braves and had Atlanta to win the series, and they closed it out last night in 6, and they did it with a ton of swagger.
A lot of swag, a lot of freaking pop, and no sweating really. They just kind of put that thing away early and just kept it going.
Yeah, that was not as good of a closeout game as you would have liked from a fan standpoint. A baseball fan, if you're an Atlanta fan, that's about as good as it gets. I have a lot of thoughts on the game. I'm gonna wait till we get to it, but I have a lot. I wish they let. It doesn't matter. They won. I just wish they would have let Max Fried go. Yeah.
Longer. It's just been cool to see him go. He was feeling it, but I get why they didn't, but,
Let's start there. Let's start with the World Series. 7-0 winners last night for Atlanta. The first time the World Championship goes to Atlanta since 1995. John Smoltz was on the call for the game last night, so that was a cool little touch of having a link to the Atlanta Braves, one of the dominant Brave players and pitchers, and Smoltz calling that game where he could give real good reference to the last time.
He's really good. I like listening. Smoltz is really good at calling it. Like he makes it very easy to listen to, and
very
he makes
easy to understand.
Yeah, he explains the game in layman's terms.
I agree. It is enjoyable watching him and Joe Buck work together because of the way that they just kind of paint the picture of the game. Tell me what you saw, because you saw this the whole time. You said that Atlanta was going to win this series, and really start to finish. I know they closed it out and Houston got 2 games, but it really did feel like through the whole series that Atlanta was the better team. Yeah,
they were hot, man. I know that coming into the postseason, they were probably the hottest team in baseball. I saw today they were 44 and 45 at the All-Star break.
Wow.
Insane.
And then they went on like this. I think there were 20-something games over 500 from like early August until the end of the year. So they got super hot. The trade deadline moves were unbelievable for them. And they won the game by hitting homers and extra base hits. I think they had 7 runs yesterday, and all 7 runs came off of homers. I thought at the beginning of the game, Luis Garcia, that first inning was I mean, he couldn't have been a better first inning. I mean,
Yeah.
he was nasty.
amped.
He was throwing change-ups. He was throwing super hard. He had everything he wanted. He got out the inning.
Working.
First batter of the game, Rosario line drive, Tucker diving catch in the outfield. I'm like, man, this is
might be their night.
Yeah, this is a tone setter inning. And then Max, the first guy, Max Fried faces infield single. I don't know who was infield single on first base. Oh, Altuve, infield single. Then you have the chopper to Freeman, and Fried's running the bag. He's not looking at Freeman on the toss.
Yeah.
So then he misses the bag, gets his ankle stepped on. Guy has rubber spikes, not metal spikes, so it doesn't hurt as bad. He stays in, gets out, strikes out Craig, gets out the inning. I'm like, man, that's a big. I mean, that's the first inning in the game. You don't want to say like that's a big like.
You weathered the storm.
But that was, I mean,
Yeah.
his last start against the Astros, he had his whole thing was he gave up some soft contact. But he couldn't get out the inning. He gave up 4 or 5 runs in that one inning, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And he even said it after the game in his interview. He's like, the only thing I was focused on was limiting damage because of the first time I played against these guys. That's exactly what happened. And he ended up getting out of it, and he ended up shoving the rest of the game.
Solar's home run will go down as one
Solar,
of the
dude.
best in I mean, recent World Series, at least
Yeah.
that I can
Just an
remember.
iconic moment.
I mean, it was a
It's close-
very much an image that you will remember him slugging that thing out of the stadium. I mean,
It's
you
very-
see the ball go out of the stadium, and he almost looks at the bench like Serrano on Major
Yeah.
League.
Yeah.
And kind of like, I mean, like that's the first thing that I thought was like kind of like this is.
So it reminds me.
Felt like Hollywood.
It reminds me of, you remember the Jose Bautista homer
Yes.
in the 15
Yes.
before bat
That was
flips were like a
versus
thing?
Houston, wasn't it?
I don't think it was versus Houston, but he threw it,
Yeah.
and his dugout is on that side,
Yes.
so he's looking at the dugout too. And this kind of reminded me of that. The ball was hammered, 110 miles an hour off the bat, 450, like crushed. The window, if the stadium was closed, would have ricocheted off the
sure.
windows, out the windows. Turns in, beats his chest, looks at the dugout, threw on homer, huge homer. I'm like, man, this is awesome. I love this. And then Max Fried settled in. It's just. They were the hot team, and honestly, they were just the better team in the World Series. They never slowed down. It was like someone different every game. It felt like was doing something to win, right? Like Soler got the MVP, but
Yeah.
you know there was just
handed that
different.
out
Yeah,
to
there was
anybody.
different days.
2 out, full count last night on Soler's blast. I mean, that was the turning point of the series.
And it's in baseball such a funny game because it's like that pitch happened and we were just talking about it, but John Smoltz was talking about it through the at bat. Like if you've played baseball and you understand like how you're trying to attack hitters, like that pitch happened a pitch prior to that, or I think two pitches prior to that, where he had 2 strikes and he had swung at a couple. He was fouling pitches off. He was battling, and Garcia had the catcher wanted the fastball up, and Garcia missed down, and he's able to foul it off. If he throws up, Soler probably swings through that and strikes out. Instead, he throws the ball down, fouls it off, and then throws a backup all-speed pitch that gets crushed. And you know that's how baseball is, man. Like you don't get. It's not like you have. Oh, I missed a tackle and I have to go harder this next play to make a tackle to make up for it. Like, no, like you miss a pitch and you may not have an opportunity. Like the 3 runs were the difference in the game. I mean, they ended up scoring a run. So it's just, it's a very meticulous game, and like the littlest things can make the biggest difference. And
it's precision.
It's precision. It is a finesse, precision type sport. And I can't say enough about Fried because, man, it's you had your worst outing. I mean, he was their ace going into the postseason, and he didn't have a great postseason. He didn't have a great first outing in the World Series, and like to come back and to do that, and like there's a bunch of different stats. I know people don't like listening to like all these baseball stats, but there's a stat of batting average of balls in play, which means take out the homers and take out the strikeouts. So any ball that's hit in play and you know, whether it's a foul ball or
Ground out,
yeah, whatever.
pop out,
and so
single.
the I guess, normal batting average of balls in play was like, you know, if you hit like 270 with it, it's not bad. It's pretty good. It's like it's average deal. His batting average of balls in play, which means balls that were getting hit off of him, were guys are hitting 380.
Wow.
Which means the balls that aren't hit hard are becoming hits. I mean, you saw in the first inning infield singles, he wasn't giving up a ton of hard contact, but they're turning into hits, and like that just puts a lot of pressure on the pitcher. And you just didn't think that trend was going to continue. You were hoping it wouldn't. You were hoping he'd get it right because this obviously was his last start, and he did, and he shoved.
Bregman 2 for 21 for the series.
I mean that, and look, Altuve struggled. He had a couple homers, but he struggled. Bregman struggled. There's someone else. Correa struggled. Gurriel didn't really do anything. Alvarez struggled.
Right.
Like their big boppers in the lineup weren't hot and they didn't hit. And when you get cold at that point, I mean that's just a bad time to not swing it. And
because doesn't it feel like you're running out of games at that point? You almost start pushing a little bit if you're struggling at the plate. So because you're like, we're running out of time here. I gotta do something to get us right. And the worst feeling, at least in baseball, in the box is when you feel like you're pressing. And it looked like Fisher started to press a lot.
And that's the hard thing is like, it's not a fast-paced game. So there's a lot of time
to think
and be in your thoughts and be like, man, what am I thinking? Like you're in the outfield. What am I thinking? Infield. What am I thinking? What am I doing? How do I get out of this? Why is my swing not feeling good? You work in the cage. You do all this stuff. And it's like, and it's just heightened because it's the World Series, and you know you want to do it and you perform, and it's tough, man. It's like it's an avalanche of emotions, and when you struggle, it's like coming downhill, and it's hard to even that out, especially when you don't have people saying, "Oh, it's a long year. You have time. You have time." You don't have time anymore, and it was unfortunate that those guys got cold, but it was a great World Series. I'm happy for the Braves, man. Nobody thought they were gonna win.
I felt great for Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman, Snitker, their manager, Freddie Freeman's a free agent.
Right.
So that could have been his last game as a Brave. I don't think it's going to be.
Well, now he has the World Series in his back pocket. Literally, he has the ball, and he's like, "Let's run this thing back." It makes it a very easy decision for Braves management to be like, "Bring back Freddie."
The cool thing about it, like, dude, Brian Snitker, their manager, was in the Braves organization, and you don't ever hear this from managers, but he was in the Braves organization for 46 years. Wow. He played professional baseball, and then he worked his way up through the system as a coach. And he was a AAA manager, and he managed Freeman for a long time coming up.
Yeah.
So Freeman and him are tight, and so he gets to that point. He gets the interim job in 16, gets the full-time job in 17. 4 years later, after the job,
unbelievable.
He's got 3 straight division titles, wins the World Series. His son was the hitting coach for Houston. It was just a
perfect storm.
There's a bunch of cool stories all the way around. I'm happy for guys like that, man, because you hear about the superstars, you hear about the Freemans, and you hear about the Bregmans and the Correas and all these guys. But baseball, like the game of baseball and the heart and soul of baseball, are made from guys like Brian Snitker and guys who figure out ways to make an impact, and you don't really know who they are.
When you saw the Max Fried, I don't want to call it an injury because he obviously didn't come out the game, but when you saw that happen, I mean, his ankle touched the ground. Were you a little shocked that he was able to keep going?
No, because the way his foot landed, it wasn't like his foot was straight and the pressure put it his leg was able to give a little bit. I'm trying to give the example here.
It looks
but
great.
His leg was able to give a little bit. I mean, man, he's just lucky that guy did not have metal spikes on, because that would have hurt.
That would have been my next question. If it's metal, that might be a game changer.
You're breaking skin.
Kirk Schilling.
Do you wear rubber?
Allegedly.
Do you wear?
I wear metals. I don't like rubbers.
I mean, sorry.
That
was a soft toss.
Of course, you catch that. No, I go.
Still wearing that thing.
More protection there.
What does that choice come down to?
Some people are comfortable about it. I like it. I like wearing metals because of the dirt. So I don't feel like I get a good grab with rubber spikes.
You don't get the same feel.
You don't get the same feel. But so I don't feel like I don't feel the ground. I feel like I slip a little bit, and then with metals you get in there. And if your outfielders like wearing the rubber spikes because they're in the grass and the metals don't really matter. But I'd rather metals.
So the World Series last night closes out with the Atlanta Braves taking the World Championship for the first time since 1995. They close out Houston in a 4-2 series win last night in Minute Maid. It was a good scene over at Atlanta Braves Stadium when they were having the watch party inside of the stadium, outside of the stadium, and really it was a great night for the state of Georgia. If you were paying attention to the college football playoff rankings that were published for the first time of the season,
people are not happy about this.
They were on top of the mountain there, and we'll tell you about the rest of them. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Edward Jones, our friends over at Edward Jones. That is Daniel Newman. Daniel.Newman is how you get in touch with our friend over at Edward Jones to help you out with all of your financial advice, whether you're looking for investment opportunities, investment advice, investment strategy, or if you're looking to manage your 401k. We rolled over our 401k to Daniel and been working with him now for about a year, and it's been fantastic. Very easy to work with him and have seen a really good return here in just a short time. If you work within the plant industry, Daniel is an expert in that field. He knows all the guidelines and can help you out with all your fiscal choices with your finances. Get in touch with Daniel today. Just email him, Daniel.Newman at EdwardJones.com, Daniel.Newman at EdwardJones.com, and you can call him at 261-8262. That's a 225 area code, 225-261-8262. Get in touch with Daniel today to help you out with all of your finances and your financial questions, as this is a personal testimony, and he is very easy to work with. Georgia number 1 in the college football playoff rankings that were published last night for the first time of this season. Cincinnati and Coach Luke Fickell, who was undefeated at 8-0, coming off of a win versus Tulane in Ullman Stadium last time out, had the message sent to the Bearcats. Oklahoma is 8 at 9-0. Cincinnati is 6 at 8-0. Michigan State is 3 at 8-0, while the Crimson Tide, Alabama, 7-1, sitting in that 2 spot. Your top 4 are Georgia 1. We're all good there, right? Yep. Nobody argues that. Alabama opens it up to a lot of speculation and criticism at number 2. Michigan State there at 3. Oregon at 4. Like that either. That's a tough one there. Ohio State 5, Cincinnati 6, Michigan 7, Oklahoma 8, Wake Forest 9 at 8-0, and Notre Dame 10. Is the top 10.
Sitting around. Sam Hartman.
Yeah, that's your guy.
Yeah, it is.
That's
QB1.
From QB1.
Wake's solid.
They are.
Hartman should get a little bit of Heisman love.
He's played steady Eddie. Sam Hartman.
Everybody kind of goes in and out of this Heisman hopeful discussion, right? I mean, we've seen Matt Corral come in and go out. We've seen the Pittsburgh quarterback, Pickett, come in and go out.
Cincinnati's
guy has come in and gone out, but really the entire time Wake Forest has really been playing pretty steady. They have no chance of getting in to this Final Four. That had to be more discouraging.
You don't think?
I don't. I just don't. If you look at the initial rankings,
I know,
and you're Wake Forest and you're 8-0, how discouraging was last night?
I mean, what else can we do?
I mean, what else do you want me to do?
The problem is Wake Forest isn't even they're a Power 5 in a Power 5.
That's what I'm saying. Yes,
tough.
Yes, it's crazy, man.
I don't know, man. I'm so look. Deep down, does everybody think that Alabama is a top 4 team in the country? Of course, yes.
Yes.
But like, don't you just take them out? Like, at least put them 4. Don't put them 2. Like, I'm not saying that the ranking's too high. I'm just saying, like, look, man, it's the first one. Like, let's just. They have a loss. Let's put the undefeated teams as the top 4, and let's put them 5, and then they can win their way back. If they beat Georgia, they're both in. You know, but what they're doing is they're setting it up for if Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, for both of those, which they should. They should, but, I mean, I get the uproar. I really do. I don't think Oregon should be 4.
Doesn't this give you the reason as to why you don't really give a shit about the CFP playoff whenever it comes out? Because you know what they want to do. They want the mainstay teams in there regardless. Like, they want Alabama, Georgia in. They want them both in. They don't want a Wake Forest sneaking in. They don't want a Cincy sneaking in. And I guess if you're ever going to do it this way, I would like to see it. That's
what I mean. Why would you not want Cincinnati? Cincinnati's pretty good,
because they know it's going to be a bloodbath. And
but you don't know.
They do. Like, at least in their mind, you just play the odds to where it's like,
I mean, Notre Dame's a bloodbath. Ohio State's been losing. Like, people,
it's not fair that they do it this way, because you really don't know, and that's why. Then that's the argument for the expanded playoff, which is why they want to get there at some point, so Wake Forest can still be 8 and go, hell, we're still in the thing. At least we get to go play in the tournament. Yeah. But they're trying to make sure that Alabama gets in because they know, and I guess everybody would know if you were on the committee, in your heart of hearts, you know Alabama's one of the top 4 teams in the country.
It is a great representation of that this stuff is nothing that means anything. Right. Until 6 weeks from now.
Yep.
5 weeks from now. Yep. I mean, it means absolutely zero. And I remember going through this in 19 with LSU when the first one came out, and they were number 2 in the country.
Ohio State was 1.
Ohio State was 1. Alabama was 3. LSU was 2. And everybody that was watching and looking at the games was saying to themselves, LSU's the best team in the country.
Right.
But we don't really have to debate this weeks 7 through 12, do we? We don't have to debate that. We just need to get through the championship weekend.
Right.
We need to find out what shakes out. And really, everything before this is nothing but this.
Yeah.
It's nothing but just to chunk out a talking point for talking heads to say, hey, chew on this, debate this, scream about this into your microphone, bark into the television camera. And up in Cincinnati, they're probably doing that. Over in Oklahoma, in Norman, Oklahoma, you know they're doing that. Bro, over at Wake Forest, they're doing that. I mean, even in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, they're talking about how the hell did we wake up the number 2 team in the country after what's been put down. But there is a feeling that, look, man, you are the second best team in the country. I think that this I think this is Alabama and Georgia, and I think we're going to see them play twice.
I have no doubt about it. I just think that it sets a. I mean, they have. It's the first one. I know it doesn't matter, but you just can't put them in there right now. Like I agree. Yeah, I think they should be there.
It was confusing to see them there now because you don't have to.
You don't have to put them there right now.
You don't have to do that if you know deep down, which they all do, sitting in that room. And this is the human element, right? This is the part behind closed doors that everybody is saying, like, what do we do with Wake Forest? What do we do with Oklahoma?
Right.
Well, I don't know, but they're not better than Alabama, right?
Yeah.
No, we don't. Anybody who thinks that Alabama, Wake Forest, and Cincinnati is better than Alabama by a show of hands.
Nobody.
It looked like around that table, everybody was, kind of holding their hands on the table.
Right.
Who thinks Alabama's the top 2 team in the country? Everybody unanimously. Okay, perfect. After Georgia, we're going Bama. That looks and feels like what it was, and that's what that room is. I mean, that's a bunch of people sitting around talking about ball and saying, who's the best teams in the country? I mean, that's ultimately what is happening here. I know that they make this big hoopla and they got meetings and they fly around to Dallas, to Phoenix, to all these.
Seems like a gigantic waste of money.
It's a huge waste of time and money.
You could do this all Zoom.
Absolutely. Easily.
Sorry, kids in the car.
Yeah, I thought you said you do this all fucked up. Like you could just call later.
Or you could probably do it too.
Have a couple of beers at the bar and be like, Bama, right? Okay, like when meeting adjourned. I don't understand why they're meeting together. And how much do you think they haven't watched Wake Forest play a snap?
No,
they don't know.
They set this,
not everybody in there,
and
for sure.
They set this stuff up for like some. I mean, okay, so obviously Oregon's ahead of Ohio State, but Ohio State's 5. So like. Oregon slips up, Ohio State's in. Like that's or Ohio State finishes the season strong, they jump them. They put Cincinnati just far enough back where they need a lot of help to get in. Wake Forest just far enough back where they need help to get in. Also ranked A&M 13, right? And Mississippi State, whatever. Mississippi State's been hot, but like 3 losses. So they break those teams. So now it looks like, oh, well, man, Alabama beat the crap out of those 2 teams, but they're ranked. So whatever. So, okay, so LSU beat a ranked team this year too. Great. We beat Mississippi State. But like they ranking these teams higher in the SEC, I think, because one, they're in the SEC, and yeah, they are probably pretty good. But like I don't think A&M should be 13 right now.
Well, it's the Alabama respect factor.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is. And to your point, it goes into supporting evidence of Alabama being number 2 in the country.
Right.
Well, look, Alabama's 13.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Mississippi State's right there with it. Ole Miss is right there. So I it's definitely a push to get, because what we have to remember at the end of the day, what this is
TV.
Is a television show.
Yep.
It is a TV show where you are accountable to advertisers. You have to answer their questions. And when the title sponsor of the college football playoff, who is that this year? I'm sure it's somebody like Geico or Allstate or some large corporation, calls and says, what the hell do you want me to do with the Georgia-Cincinnati game?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not putting our brand on that because nobody's watching. But if you give me Alabama, Georgia 2, if you give me the the sequel of Alabama Georgia after the SEC title game, which I think is probably going to be an instant classic. That offense versus that defense versus somebody that can test them, that can make them go for 4 quarters and
front four is going to be able to handle their front four.
Exactly, and their back end is very reminiscent of LSU 2011. I mean, it just feels like there is not a space of grass that they can't cover. And Bryce Young and those wide receivers and the ability to run the ball with Robinson, I mean, I think it puts at least as much pressure as Georgia would have felt all season long. I still think that that Georgia's defense is the best unit in college football.
Oh, yeah.
That is the best
either side of the ball.
Of either side of the ball. That is the best unit in college football. So to see them tested is what I'd like to see. Yep. And I think that the best test that they can be thrown at would probably be Alabama's offense.
But then you're already going to see the game, right? If everything continues down this path, is it not going to be Georgia, Alabama, and the SEC championship?
So so that'll be 2. So they may have a trilogy.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. But then it leads back to why they put Georgia 1, Alabama 2, so they don't match up again. They won't go SEC championship, then 1-4 and play again.
No. They're going to set them up in the championship.
If they play again, it'll be.
And that's another point. That's why it's all bullshit. Like they're manipulating the rankings.
TV show.
Yes.
But these sponsors
it's
want to see them
WWE.
play a third time.
Second time.
If they play in the SEC championship game, that's the second. Oh no.
Yeah, they haven't played yet this year. Yeah, it'll be 2. It'll be 1 and 2.
Sorry, early.
Fucking baseball guy.
Big in baseball.
No. But,
Still got time.
But this, I mean, a couple of years back, this happened. I mean, when they put Tua in the national championship game, that was the second time that they had played in a month.
Yeah.
And the first time was a classic too.
Yeah.
I expect the same type of deal this year. And remember, Alabama won both of those. I don't think it's out of the question where Georgia could win both, just because of how good that defense is. It's almost as if I don't care what you try and change. Like Mark Stoops, I saw one of his interviews post-Georgia game, and he said, look, we felt really good about our halftime adjustments. Yeah. Like we went in there, watched film, broke down, and said, look, this is where we have at least a chance. We're not better, stronger, faster than these guys are in this area, but that's where they're their weakest,
right? And
they dominated us. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like even the parts where you think that they
might
are vulnerable,
they're
still a lot better than you are. And that's against Kentucky's offensive line, which is considered, at times has played as good as anybody in the sport. So
now, this is going to set. I don't think they're going to be a top 4 team, but if Wake Forest goes undefeated, like
their schedule,
I know their schedule sucks, but that was the argument about Clemson. Their schedule stinks. They're in the ACC, but if you win the ACC undefeated and you don't get put into the final, like the top 4. That sets a bad precedent for future.
You know what it does? It just opens up the 8-12 argument.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's all it does. It just shows that there's more of that will just start to sway that discussion more into that direction. And you know what? That may be what they want too.
Exactly. They want a little controversy.
I think that they want that.
The Alliance, which is like, what is the Alliance? Like the teams that aren't going into the super conferences, right? Is that what the Alliance is?
The Alliance is everybody outside of the SEC.
So the Alliance was the group of coaches and teams and whatever that were holding up the.
Yeah, they have the handshake deal, the Pac-12, ACC.
They're pissed off.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean. They're mad.
But but why? Like, if you get the expanded playoffs, you're in. You're in. You get a chance. Here's your chance. You're in. Yeah, more SEC teams making it, but you're in.
And if you're Wake Forest, you can obviously, if they go undefeated, you point to, why does Clemson get to do what we just did last year? They get in the playoff every year. We don't get to.
Yeah.
I think the bigger team that we should focus on is Oklahoma at 8, with the change at quarterback Caleb Williams. They have brand recognition as a name. If they go undefeated, they will be in. And if Alabama loses to Georgia as a 2-loss team, and you have an undefeated Oklahoma, they're still going to try to shoehorn Alabama in there. It'll be a conversation.
That's what they're doing 13 through 17. They're beefing up Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State to let you know.
I don't think that they can let them in with 2 losses.
I don't know if they can either, but at the end of the day, it's a TV show. When they close those doors, I wouldn't trust anybody.
Right. And they don't give a shit what we think because we're all watching.
No way. And because they know you're going to be back next year.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to boycott it and leave it.
Right.
You know, I mean, you're not leaving your television set. If you give them Alabama, Georgia for the second time, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-loss Bama team or it's a SEC title winning Bama team going against Georgia. People are going to watch. People are going to watch that a lot faster than they watch Michigan State and Georgia.
Does Cincinnati play SMU? Are they in the same?
Let me see.
Are they in the
same? Yeah,
because
they were at Tulane this weekend.
Listen to what also the committee did. SMU, 1 loss, not ranked. Now, Cincinnati's next best game against SMU is against a non-ranked opponent. Like, you're putting 3-loss teams at 13. I know the conferences and I know all of those things, but like, they're not giving Cincinnati any type of advantage. They're not giving them any help whatsoever.
They play SMU November 20th.
Yep. And you still have Michigan State, Ohio State that have to play each other.
Right.
So it'll be interesting, but like I said, this is nothing but this. That's all this is gas bagging and taking up time of telling you who we care about after week 6 of the college football season, where on Sunday night or Sunday morning at 7 a.m. when we get up and get moving, it means nothing what we're talking about right now, because it's all going to blow up this Saturday, and they'll have to do this again next Tuesday, and it'll be the same discussion, and it'll just kind of copy and paste that breakdown for the next 4 or 5 weeks, and it means absolutely zero until you get to championship weekend in college football, where you've got SEC title games, Big 10, Big 12, ACC title games, and you got an opportunity to figure out who's going to be standing when they choose the four envelopes. I would say that I would put my money on Alabama and Georgia.
You already have.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying that you can take that to the bank. They're going to be there. I mean, because that's the best draw.
Unless Alabama loses the second game.
Not
and
for
Oklahoma's
sure.
Undefeated.
Not for sure. I mean, I hear the sentiment.
I just think there's enough undefeated teams out there.
And Oklahoma's a big enough name.
Oregon has 1 loss, right?
Oregon lost 2.
Oregon has the worst loss of the season and the best win of the season.
Over Ohio State.
They have a loss to Stanford in overtime, which was just a horrific loss. But they also went into the horseshoe earlier this season and beat Ohio State.
So you have a Big 12 team undefeated. You have a
1-loss Pac-12 team.
No. Let me finish. You have a Big 12 team undefeated in Oklahoma, name brand. You have you have an ACC team undefeated, not a name brand, in Wake Forest, and you have. That's probably the best group of 5 team that we've had since all of this stuff happened in Cincinnati. Undefeated, right? Those 3 teams. You have 2 1-loss teams in the top 4 right now. Like it's
wrestling.
You know what it does more than anything? If you want to bring this thing granular.
Then you have 3 1-loss teams in the top 5.
If you want to bring this thing really granular to Baton Rouge, it should really piss you off, because this could have been LSU's year. This could have been an opportunity for LSU to make a real run. When you look at their roster, the way it was put together, August 30th to where it is now.
Even as bad as we've played, like let's say we beat Auburn. Somehow we hold on to that lead, we beat Auburn. Now you beat
Auburn,
Florida, 2 top 15
Mississippi
teams.
State.
Yeah.
I mean, and you could really make the argument for them being 6-1. Look at UCLA's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, since you've pulled out of Pasadena, that team has been exposed and shown that they're really not as good as you thought they were early in the season. They definitely weren't good enough to play with LSU's aces.
Yeah.
I mean, that was LSU was
just play with them. They beat the shit out of them.
They did. They beat the hell out of them.
Dog-walked them.
And it just makes zero sense. It makes no sense, and it's frustrating and maddening to look at LSU the way that they were put together in late August, and then see the college football playoff rankings be published in early November and think just what could have been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, what could have been if LSU stays together, stays healthy, and is able to game plan and scheme week in, week out, and at least compete and give themselves an opportunity. But it just has gone so far off the rails that it's just burning.
Now we're waiting for it to be over.
It's just billowing smoke.
But if you remember, before the season even started, we were trying to make some content. We went through the LSU schedule, and we would go through, and we were like, LSU could be a 10-win team. You bookmarked UCLA as a win, and you went through the schedule. We were nervous about Kentucky, which we had the right to be. Like, looking back before the season even started, but if you would have known that the playoff picture was going to look like this, where there's 1-loss teams smattered throughout, and you can and if you're an LSU fan, you go, they could withstand the 1 loss to Alabama and still be right in the thick of becoming maybe that 4th team in the playoff. And now it's just make this thing go away.
I mean, and Alabama got beat, and like now there would have been not one undefeated team in the West, but you'd have been one loss with Alabama. They lost Ole Miss. You beat lost A&M. You beat A&M. Like, it just, we had the opportunities were right there. Right there.
And how delusional are LSU fans after that game? We did it 2 years in a row with Mississippi State. Maybe they're actually pretty good. And we're like, no, they're terrible. And then UCLA again this year. It's like, maybe the UCLA might be pretty good this year.
I think it was more about,
they're terrible.
They're good. Please be better than we.
Sure.
Please be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember people making an argument that UCLA was going to win the Pac-12 when we were going into Pasadena.
Us?
Yeah, leaving.
Please.
Who's going to beat this team?
the Road Raiders, yeah. God, look, they out-physical an SEC team.
Daily, we're brought to you here by A-Bears Specialty Meats. Remember, A-Bears is coming to Baton Rouge, back to Baton Rouge, as they'll be over at Robert's Grocery Store on Highland Road. That'll be in the Kenilworth Shopping Center. Set to open up right around Thanksgiving. Things getting panned out and space is being moved over there. About 630 square feet of space over at Robert's Grocery Store will open up A-Bears here in Baton Rouge, but always out there on Highway 73. A-Bears Specialty Meats. You can find them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center. Freezer full of selects, man. You can go out there and pick up a turducken. You can pick up a deboned stuffed chicken, ground patties, steaks, whatever you're looking to throw on the grill tonight or whatever you're looking to cook for the kids. Also, Thanksgiving is coming up. As we all know, there will be smoked, fried turkeys that you can pick up over at A-Bears. So make sure if you are looking for meals for Thanksgiving, if you're looking to have some people over, skip the cooking process. Think about A-Bears to cater the meal, as they will have that for you with great holiday specials. And speaking of holidays, if you run a business, if you have a team that you are looking to get Christmas gifts for, think about A-Bears gift cards. They are online where you can purchase them, or you can just stop in to one of the convenient locations, Highway 73 in the Dutchtown Shopping Center, or coming soon here in the next couple of weeks to Robert's Shopping Center, Robert's Grocery Store inside of the Kenilworth Shopping Center on Highland Road.
Did John Madden invent the turducken? Is this his doing, the fact that it exists? Because he's the first person I've ever seen.
Definitely on national television.
Boom.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, John Madden.
Cut here.
Cut here.
Yeah,
it's a wild idea.
It is.
And if there was one person to put their stamp on a turducken, it was Gobble Madden.
Absolutely.
He was just all in on that thing. I'd just never seen one before, and I'm glad he made it a staple. I've never had it, but I'll take a bite.
Turducken. Have you had a turducken?
Yeah, we've done turduckens for the last couple of years at Thanksgiving. I think they're great, man.
Can you explain to me what goes into like a turducken? Give me like the.
We're gonna have to get A-Bears on to talk about just kind of, but really, I mean, it's turkey, duck, chicken.
Right.
Kind of.
How do we get everybody in there?
I mean, like, I've seen A-Bears kind of go through deboning a chicken.
It can't be fun.
It's
violent?
not. It's pretty violent, bro.
Are they alive?
No.
Oh.
No.
Jeez.
Jeez. You psychopath, bro. No, they're not alive.
Deboning a live.
You trying to put A-Bears out of business?
No, I was just wondering. I didn't know how, maybe.
He's back there whacking chickens, bro.
Choking the chicken out.
Peter to come out there and say, hey, no, you can't be doing that.
He's back in the arm barn with the chickens.
Hop inside of, if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate that very much. Hit that like button for us. If you want to share it, we appreciate that. Comment. That brings us very good vibes here on the Jordy Culotta Show. So if you can do that, we really appreciate it. Orgeron, very transparent, and we spoke about this a little bit, and we spoke about this during Orgeron's tenure. I mean, really, this has been something, even when we would regularly have him on our radio show where I formerly was, he would come on once a week there, and sometimes we would kind of be looking at each other kind of like eyes wide, like, damn, I mean, he's really telling us about what's going on. I mean, whether it was player status, whether it would be game plans, whether it be who was starting, whether it was going to be players that were injured, Orgeron was continuously kind of showing you and giving you his hand on his team. Yesterday or Monday, he was speaking to the press just about the Alabama week, just like he does every week. And somebody asked for a self-scout report because Orgeron was, just kind of giving the idea that during the bye week that they had self-scouted more than they had scouted Alabama. So they had broken down LSU more than they had broken down Alabama. somebody asked, well, what'd you see? And Orgeron kind of steps away from the microphone, kind of puts his hands in his pocket, gets comfortable, and just goes in on LSU and just...
Actually, he put the film on the board and showed everybody on the film.
It really did. How predictable they are on both sides of the ball. How inept they have been of making any changes. How they have shown that their personnel tips off just about everything they do.
Now, I will say this. That, like, those are things that everybody sees anyway. You know, don't say it. Like, just... Hey, you know, we have a lot of stuff. We keep that in-house. Like, that would probably be the answer. But
the worst thing
is just things people see. So unless I feel like if he's doing that and saying this, and he says, okay, well, then this is how we're fixing that, then that would be...
Well, you can't say that anymore. You can't say we're going to fix it because that was his tagline for the first 5 weeks, and that was obviously not the case.
Right.
But it seems like, I mean, Durante Jones, you can take a shot. Jake Peets, you can take a
he's
shot.
Always done that. He's always done that.
He's just everybody's under the bus, and he's driving the thing.
I don't think he does either.
I don't think he knows he does that either.
I don't think he does either. I think what he thinks is that he's being honest,
right?
And like I'm telling you what the deal is. I mean, it's either that or he's trying to set up the narrative where after this is over, he's going to paint the picture. Him and Panamsky are try to paint the picture that these hires were forced on them.
Yeah, but
because Derek would continuously tell people in the media that Bo Pelini was forced on Ed Orgeron and that staff, and that's why they hired him. And nobody bought it. Nobody would believe it because how could you believe, coming off of that 2019 season where really he is the Don of college football.
Right.
He is almost like up there with the status of Saban as far as having like this Godfather type feel to him. After that season, and your administration goes to you and tells you who you have to hire. There are some red flags within the Pelini situation. One of them is the amount of money that he was paid against nobody. You're not bidding against anybody. You're not. Bo Pelini's not going to say, "Hey LSU, if you don't pay me this, well then I'm going here."
I'm staying in Youngstown.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well I mean here's. $3 more than what you're making at Youngstown. Come run the defense in the SEC. And, Orgeron, again, publicly admitting that he didn't interview him. You know what I mean? So there are some things that you would be like, that is concerning. But the more that you understand Orgeron and kind of how he runs this ship, the more it makes sense that...
And now, they saying that, I think that, like, him coming out and saying... He didn't interview him. He wasn't trying to indict himself. Like, oh, by the way, I'm not in. Like, I think it was more about, hey, this wasn't my decision. But like at the time when he said that, I'm like, damn, this is just like a, hey, you're my boy. You come do it without me interviewing you. But I didn't realize. Now looking back, it's like, well, maybe he was trying to tell us something then. But yeah, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
but he can't fall. He can't say, oh. I didn't make these hires the second time. You just can't. He can't because Pete's was his hire. That hasn't worked out. And you know what? His hires may. You know what happened to his hires? They said no.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
they told him no.
He got down the list, and as Snow points out, remember what he said during media day? He said he's doing things his way. That was his saying. These are his hires, and that he's taking his responsibility. And that's right. We were over at the Baton Rouge Rotary. Which originates from Tiger Stadium each
Ginkgo
year.
Factory.
And it's kind of like that last press opportunity for the coach, and that was really kind of the theme of it was that Orgeron was really kind of, this is my season, we're going to do it my way, and he could feel the heat. Mm-hmm. He knew that things were cooking underneath him, the water was kind of starting to boil underneath him, and that he had to either have a wildly successful season that he was going to put on his shoulders, or it was going to be like this.
Right.
They were going to crash and burn, and he was going to lose his job.
Just the last thing I want to say on it is, if he wants to play this game where he's like, I didn't make these hires, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, who's the one person that forced out Dave Aranda and made it very apparent he didn't really want Aranda there anymore? And God knows why, because I don't know what he saw in Aranda that made him I guess he was a little uncomfortable because of how smart maybe Aranda was,
Definitely.
and it made him feel
100%.
a little
I think
on edge. But as soon as Aranda's out the door, he says, well, Bo Pelini, our defense looks better than it ever has at any point last year. It's like, do you remember the Georgia game in the college football playoff where everybody was healthy and LSU trounced people? Like the last 3 games of that LSU football defense in 2019
they got
was
better.
Unbelievable.
They progressed. Like, hey, you know what? Did you just look at what happens in the first half? Like, oh, we gave some points. And then it was locked down in the second half. The adjustments was his thing.
Within the coaching community, you ask coaches why Aranda has so much respect. Like, what is it about him that makes him great? And they will tell you his in-game adjustments are like that what he does best. He can see something, he can diagnose it, and he can, on the fly, fix it.
He doesn't coach, he doesn't coach with emotion. He coaches with logic, you know? And that goes a long way.
Don Tamazino says that they did want Ryan Nielsen. I don't know, maybe. They said that they did want Ryan Nielsen, and I think that was another, looking back on it, you know, like now that we have this point of view, you know what you know, and, you know, the thing is kind of smoked out, and you know the outcome, Orgeron's losing his job at LSU, was that Sean Payton stepped in and shut that down.
That's why he shut it down. You would think that's why, because why else would Sean Payton, unless he thinks that, unless Nielsen's going to be his defensive coordinator and he thinks that that spot's going to be open soon. But, I mean, 1, 2, 3 years, like, you don't hold a guy back from a position that he thinks that could be a career changer if something is not going on. And I don't know. I think that's a little telling too. I think he shut it down because he thought that was not a good decision for him.
Well, and looking back on Orgeron's tenure, he had that Miles characteristic where he was intimidated by smart people.
Yeah,
you know, like there was a very much growing sentiment around LSU football, especially later in Miles after you got rid of the Jimbo Fishers and people like that were within the community, and even like young Bo Pelini at the time, who ended up getting the Nebraska head coaching job. From his time at LSU, was that Orgeron became very insecure about people around LSU football that was either receiving credit for 2019 or that was perceived smarter or had better relationships with the team. I mean, George Munoz had no business accepting the wide receiver coaching job at Baylor after in 2019 he was an analyst, but he was like the offense quality control coach.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing exactly what he's doing now. He's wearing the headset. He runs the game for all intents and purposes. I mean, he's the guy that Orgeron is saying, should we call a timeout? Should we do this? I mean, he's the one that is ultimately running the game because that's the type of people you have to have around. You got to have somebody with a headset on saying, hey, you know, sub your package in, sub your guys in, call a timeout.
Call another timeout.
The play clock is about to go off. Yeah, call a timeout again. I mean,
when that thing hits 0, it's over, right? Like you can't anything. But I did put up a poll yesterday, sneaky poll, and it has to do with both of these coaches. Who had the better tenure as the LSU head coach, Les Miles or Ed Orgeron?
It's a hell of a debate.
And it goes to show how the flavor of the month is, because people are all over. They want Les back. Les Miles, 73%.
No.
73% to Ed O, 27%.
The only reason I say Les had a better career is because of the longevity of it. That was the only reason. Like, O has the best team ever to ever come through LSU and arguably through college football. So, like, that gives him, like, a huge, you know.
Right, that's his ace in the hole.
Yeah, that's his deal. But his longevity, I think, for me, makes it a better tenure. But at the end of his tenure, it got super sour. I think people forget the beginning part of it.
Well, I mean, look, Orgeron and Miles were doing the same type of stuff. The same type of things that you're turned off by Orgeron. Miles was doing the same exact things. You just didn't really know about it, or people weren't talking about it as much. And he was so insulated. Mm-hmm. Miles was so protected during that time, where Orgeron divorced on social media, exposed, didn't matter who was watching, who was seeing. It was really in your face. So really, I mean,
it was the Ed O tour.
The only thing
the comparison here, I mean, the poll question should be, I mean, who do you like more, Jeff Daniels or Lloyd Christmas? You know what I mean? It is a debate of really and true. It is Dumb and Dumber. I mean, it really is.
The only thing that I can say about Les's teams was at least you knew they were going to have a good defense.
You talking about Les?
Yeah.
Or that they could run the football.
That they could run, like, at least you knew they could do something well.
Right.
Like, even if it wasn't going to be, we weren't going to beat Alabama, but at least you knew that, hey, defense and run the football and just with our athletes, we're going to be able to win 9, 10 games because of that, but we're never going to be able to get to that next level. And then as the scheme, like the schemes to change and as the culture of college football changed, and he never did it, then you saw the gap widen. But up until then, like, you knew what you were going to get, and it was very predictable, but you knew that they were going to be competitive because they had that. Yeah. Now, nobody on neither side of the ball is doing anything.
Well, LSU has totally lost their identity. I mean, they have no idea who they are under the direction of Ed Orgeron. I think you can find it real quick because you can get players, and I think it's easy to build an identity around a run game, a defense at LSU because you can get those guys really quickly. Right now, LSU just doesn't. They're lost to me. They don't have any identity. They don't know who they are.
Feels like they're changing it every week too. Like, hey, this we're going to be this week. This we're going to be this week. There's nothing.
And not in a good way.
No.
It's not like they're being dynamic with their scheme to be like, actually, this week we're going to attack them with the pass because that's what the defense has given us. It is. What did we throw against the wall that stuck today? What's the last thing we talked about? That seems like what we're going to go do if you're on the coaching staff.
And I've said this before. You can determine and you can tell a good coach by the coaching tree, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So, like, when Les was here, how many coaches that Les hired ended up getting jobs elsewhere?
Exactly.
Grimes.
Well, Grimes left during the time.
Right, but that's his tree.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only one I can really point to. Aranda.
You can't say Aranda was probably the only one he hired, but Aranda was doing that at Wisconsin. Like, it wasn't like he brought a guy in and, like, saw this talent as a coach and let him develop that talent and move, right? I mean, you can't give him Jimbo. That's under Saban.
Yeah.
You can't give him Pelini because that happened for a few years early on. Like, that wasn't even his
decision.
Yeah. And so after that, there was nobody that he had that went anywhere else. And I know O didn't have a lot of time here because it's hard to have a coaching tree when you only have 5-6 years, but I mean, that 1 year we got with Brady, like, that doesn't count. That's 1 year that we got, and he wasn't even, like, the offensive coordinator, quote unquote. Like, that to me tells a lot, you know?
And moreover, that's what he promised he was going to do when he got here. That was what he knew his responsibility was as LSU's head coach. And again, I'm not going back to beat the horse, but it's dead already.
Right.
But that's where we are, and you know, some of the comments earlier this week is kind of what spurred where we are now from Orgeron, just kind of giving you a really transparent and clear look into some of the problems that are plaguing LSU football right now, and you know, a lot of it falls at his feet.
It kind of was surprising that he at least knew it, like, you know, because it seems like he has been so checked out that at least, like, look, I see it too, because it seemed like early on throughout the year before he got, I guess, fired, he wouldn't really admit it to that extent. He would just say, look, this is what we have to get fixed. And I was just saying, boys, I mean, we're too obvious here, we're too obvious there, and I don't really know what we can do to change that. Like, that's the team that you see, that's the team you're going to get, because there ain't no fixing it right now. And the funniest thing about that press conference was he thought they were asking about Alabama at first. And he was like, oh, man, they're well coached. Yeah. And he's like gushing. And he's like, no, I'm asking about LSU. He goes, oof. Well, okay, well,
really predictable.
We're really bad.
I mean, we're not good at anything.
Alabama's real good. We're real bad.
Yeah. Daily, we're brought to you.
Don't expect the upset.
Daily, we're brought to you by City Cafe. Stop in for City Cafe. They've got lunch specials every single day over there on O'Neill and George O'Neill. You can find it online at citycafebr.net, citycafebr.net. As we've told you, they are hiring over there, so if you're looking for work in the restaurant business, whether it's a cook, front of the house, bartending staff, managerial spots, they're all open and looking for work over at or looking for people to work over at City Cafe, citycafebr.net, citycafebr.net. To get in touch with City Cafe. And, of course, their brunch opens up at 11 a.m. on or 10 a.m. on Sundays. The Carpool Queen is here. We are going to talk about this Texas story. Have you seen this? What's going on in Texas?
Yes.
Halloween night.
Yes.
Special teams quarterback.
They've got everything.
Special teams coordinator has a haunted house at his place in Austin. His girlfriend is a stripper named the Pole Assassin, who has been featured on Jerry Springer.
Wow.
While at Alabama, this coach left his wife and kids for the stripper, moved them now to Austin, and is on Sarkisian's staff. Turns out they have a pet monkey in the backyard that the Pole Assassin uses for her routine on stage during her stripping routine.
So she's still a stripper.
I guess so.
Wow.
They say that this is an emotionally stable or emotionally
support animal.
Emotionally support animal.
I don't know if it's emotionally stable. I don't know if anybody in this story is.
I don't think anybody is.
It may be the most emotionally stable person.
It's unbelievable. But a kid snuck back into the back of the house and got bit by the monkey, and now all hell is broken loose in Austin, Texas. And that the Pole Assassin and Coach Banks are at the middle of it. We're going to talk about this story when we come back here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We're also going to talk the Saints stuff. We got Saints news here as Saints play Atlanta and Tennessee over the next 2 weeks, and Atlanta's going to be without Calvin Ridley, and it looks like Tennessee's going to be without Derrick Henry.
Just lining up,
so it's
baby.
all kind of falling together for Trevor Siemian. I'm buying in, bro.
Russell Wilson got hurt.
Phillip Rivers.
Russell Wilson was hurt. You got all these big stars getting hurt.
And you know Breeze is probably saying, you know what? I can probably do it. I got a new head of hair. I'm feeling good. The shoulder's good. The brake's been all right. We'll be back here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. True Blue Water. True hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU bluewater.com. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Hebert's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. abearsmarkets.com. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Hebert over at Hebert's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022, 225-485-8022 is where you can find Hebert's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Welcome back here to the Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. Ed Orgeron speaking at TJ Ribs tonight for his weekly call-in radio show. That's going to go off at 7 a.m. And then, of course, we will hear from all of the SEC coaches this morning on the SEC teleconference. That is not your eyes deceiving you. That is the carpool queen.
She is here.
She is here in the flesh. Katie
demand.
Alligood. Yes, back by popular demand. I thought the locals were going to mob us inside of the bunker, and on Facebook, JordyCulottaShow.com. You see Katie wearing the hoodie. It is hoodie season here as the weather is starting to change. We got you.
Also, she's back in for the perfect segment too. I can't wait to hear.
Segment.
I can't wait to hear her take on this pole assassin that we're about to talk about.
Do you know anything about this story?
I do.
Okay.
We talked about it in our group chat last night.
Oh, nice. 8:30 this morning, we're going to talk to Nick Underhill. So if you have Saints questions, get inside of the bunker and just type them out. We'll ask Nick coming up here at 8 a.m. this morning. Okay, here we go, man. The Texas Longhorns football program is under fire right now, and it's not because of anything that is happening on the field. Longhorns special teams coach Jeff Banks, who is formerly at the University of Alabama, where this story really originated. If you remember, Banks was in the news because he had left his wife and kids for a stripper named the Pole Assassin.
Is her actual name?
I do have her. Danielle Thomas.
Danielle
Wait,
Thomas.
is it Danielle Banks though?
Oh, no, I
Are they married?
Are they married? Because there's a tweet from Danielle Banks.
Wow.
I know. So
She's
that's what I
Danny
was
Thomas on
wondering.
Instagram, actually, but her handle is Pole Assassin.
Okay.
She has been featured on the Jerry Springer Show.
Featured.
And as that feature labeled her, the best stripper in America.
Oh,
yes.
Where does she?
She's a traveling stripper.
Okay.
So she is
They're a traveling stripper?
She's a headline act.
She goes to Vegas. I'm sure.
They will fly her into cities like Miami, Vegas, New York, L.A., and they will promote that the Pole Assassin is here on a Saturday night, sell you tickets, get you in, and she will whip her monkey out, and not the monkey like you're thinking. I'm talking about a real pet monkey.
Monkey on a stick.
That she whips out during her
act.
During her act.
That's my first problem is a monkey.
That is a weird accessory for sure.
But that's what makes the monkey able to be an emotional support animal, because it has to travel with her. So that's how she gets it on the plane. She's kind of playing 4D chess.
Yeah, but I thought they changed the rules about the emotional support animals. So I don't know if you can do that anymore.
How is this monkey getting to all the shows?
I don't know.
So we fast forward. Right, so Jeff Banks, the special teams coach, former at Alabama, where he leaves his wife and kids for the Pole Assassin, gets the job on Steve Sarkisian's staff with the University of Texas. Him and the assassin moved to Austin, Texas. She's into Halloween. She likes to celebrate. The night.
Imagine that.
So she turns in half the house into a haunted house that she's inviting kids through.
That's the thing, is she invited kids to come.
Yeah, but she said that it was clearly marked and roped off.
And on Twitter, have you seen her tweets?
I've seen some of them.
She's coming to her man's side, baby.
She is coming to her own defense. Now, since they have been deleted, but in a world of screenshots and how you can video record, it is out there in the open, and the internet has won versus the Pole Assassin and her tweets here. But on Halloween night, she opens up the house, a haunted house that she has constructed inside of her own home, to the neighborhood and to the kids. Some little shithead who I love, sneaks off during the tour of the haunted house and makes his way to the backyard. Now, the backyard is secure. It is all gated up and locked, as the Pole Assassin is shown on her Twitter account, even with a sign saying "Keep out. There is an emotional support animal back here."
It says it.
It does. Absolutely on the sign, "Keep out."
But could that not be a part of the haunted house if you're a kid?
Be.
You're like,
could
keep out.
I think the emotional support part of the keep out, I think that takes
means.
away.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't care.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
You're
And
right.
his kids, you know what I mean? My guy, who I
How old
love.
was he? Like 13?
Smoking a cigarette.
He's just 11.
Just a menace.
Got a pint of tequila in his back pocket.
Drinking Mad Dog
Cigarette
40-40.
behind his ear. Trying to schedule his virtual tour in Relief Med at 11. Going to the backyard at the Pole Assassin's house, sneaks back there, sees the monkey, starts playing with the monkey. The monkey bites the kid. Now we got a problem. now we got an issue.
Now we have a story.
Now we got an issue on our hand. And the pole assassin goes into overdrive and starts tweeting out that you shouldn't hear what you shouldn't always believe what you hear. You need to see things first. No parents have contacted her. The monkey didn't bite anybody on the face. It was only on the finger, which she admits the bite happens in the tweets as somebody calls her out. So you're saying there was a bite.
There was a bite.
There was a bite.
But was it like a bad bite and like a rabies situation?
She's saying she didn't hear from anybody's parent. Now, this is 2 days ago. This is now Halloween is Sunday night.
She is hearing from the parents.
I was on top of this one.
No doubt.
That's so
that is unbelievable.
There's no way in hell I would let a monkey get that close to me.
You have a goat.
I know I have a goat. That's not a monkey. Why do you always compare Henry to a monkey? I feel like we've had this conversation before.
But what, like...
Please welcome to the main stage. Katie Allagood, a carpool queen by day, and a goat wrangler by night. Come on out, Katie.
Not a stripper, though.
Yeah, right.
Not the pole assassin.
Not the pole assassin.
Not the pole assassin. Wow. But what a sequence of events.
What
on
does
this
she
Friday
do
night.
with the monkey in her show when she's stripping?
It's a great
That's
question.
What I want to know.
I
That's a
don't
great
know.
question. I got to imagine that a New Orleans strip club has brought the pole assassin down.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine that there's
Rick's.
probably a video out there, but I don't know if we can pull that off.
Oh, we are past the carpool hour.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Kids
if
are in school.
if there was ever a time to show it, that would be it. Are her tweets still alive?
I'm trying to find her Twitter.
No. She has deleted the Twitter. She's deleted
The tweeter.
the Twitter.
The Twitter machine.
She is off the Twitter machine.
Oh, so like she deleted her entire Twitter.
I imagine that somebody legally got to her and said,
Absolutely.
"Take that stuff down immediately." And she was starting to delete. And people were probably texting her saying, "You're done. You're screwed." Oh yeah, dude.
Here's my question.
Alabama.
She wears
Oh
the
my
house.
God, why is she in Alabama?
That's where they started dating. That's where he left his wife and kids, was in Tuscaloosa
is she
for the pole assassin.
Is she from Tuscaloosa? She's probably from Atlanta, I
She
bet.
feels like she's got a Tuscaloosa feel. She does feel like she's probably from Tuscaloosa.
But like if she's the pole assassin, there's no way the pole
She
assassin's
feels
up
like
in
Doesn't she?
Tuscaloosa.
I mean, doesn't her nickname feel like she's from
It does
T-Town?
feel like
You know what I mean? Like,
Do
a stripper with a monkey as an accessory? Hey, where you
So
from?
Jerry
Tuscaloosa?
Springer, yeah.
here's my question.
Must be a Tide fan.
And I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But like,
Can we show this?
is
She's dancing on Jerry.
there
Yeah, for sure.
is there like since there are signs and it was the backyard? Is that okay? Like, is there any legal like ramifications?
The
of this?
assassin thought for sure that was her out.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
until she said only on the finger.
She was
Yeah, she
she
said,
was
"You haven't
on. Yes,
said
right.
that.
That's
What
where
the
she.
hell?"
That's where she screwed
You don't
herself.
admit to
Sorry,
it.
but I mean,
She does that on stage
yeah,
from 10 to 12.
that's right. That's the monkey. That's the monkey show.
That's the monkey show.
Right.
The
But I
Hangover.
mean, you could tell that she was really on the sign, kind of like, "This is my legal way out."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this
I
kid,
mean, he
this
did.
shithead saw that there was a sign
Yes.
back here and that there was a monkey back here, and he fought through the no trespassing sign, got through the gate, and put his fingers through the fence and got nibbled on by my monkey.
He
You know
persevered.
what I mean? Like,
Persevered.
I can't help the kid. I can't, and I haven't heard from his parents.
Well, that's the thing.
You know
They're
what I
probably
mean?
like, fucking Johnny came over here. He's the worst kid on the block. Like, I knew he was going to get us in trouble, dude. I told you not to invite him.
No doubt.
So no video.
Oh, it's coming out.
No video, but we do have the video of her at the Jerry Springer show where she was labeled the best stripper in America.
Okay.
Well, and what I've heard is, and obviously she's
Is the
coming-
monkey with her on Jerry Springer?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I
Gotta
haven't
be.
watched the whole video, but
Gotta
yeah,
be.
gotta be.
Gotta
But
be.
What the original story was that the monkey had latched onto the child's arm, the little Jimmy,
Right.
little Johnny, and
Right.
that they had to pry the monkey off, and now she's trying to say just a finger, which is, imagine she said that a lot in her life. But so
Make it 5. Make it 5 of those fingers, buddy.
that'll cost extra.
Yeah, right.
Wait, I have a question. Does the monkey add something for y'all to a strip
No
show?
way.
Like,
No.
is that
No.
sexy? Is that
No.
like weird?
No, it's
That's
terrifying.
It's entertainment.
I think
I think
think
what
that's
she
what
is.
it's-
I think what the
yeah.
assassin has embraced is that she is an entertainer.
Okay, clearly.
And that at some point she ran out. The act was, people were like, "Okay, you're a good pole dancer, but what else you got?" You know what I mean? Like,
What else do you need?
there's a million of y'all for every.
That's
You know what I
true.
mean?
That's
There's
true.
you're a dime a dozen.
Like what can,
You're a
what
dime
can
a
the
dozen.
monkey
Bring in a monkey.
possibly?
How do you stand out? How are you going to stand out? We've seen all these Vegas shows, Miami shows, L.A., New Orleans, New York. What are you going to do different, assassin?
What can the monkey possibly?
I can bring a monkey out. Try it. Let's see. See what happens.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Wait, how's it?
Tagline on Jerry Springer.
Is this gonna
be my baby donor? I don't know if we should show this. I'm not sure. I don't know if we're gonna get flagged by Jerry.
TV, right?
I'd imagine that Jerry.
I guess we could.
His people would probably.
Yeah,
look at her.
It's bad though that everyone can't see what we're seeing. I mean,
But you said.
that's impressive.
You can buy a simple Google search. Wow.
Look at this.
That is.
I do want to see. I do want to see the monkey though.
I do. I don't know if this is the first one I found. Previous.
Yeah, but still on Jerry's.
I don't feel like.
So if we see a picture.
No, I think that's usually what happens.
She's definitely past her prime.
She can power clean a car. Look at that trunk.
She's definitely past her prime from that. Have you seen Jeff Banks? Have you seen the special teams coach? Because he's standing next to her, looks like the monkey. You know what I mean? Like he looks like her pet.
I mean, he looks like somebody that probably leave his wife and kids for a stripper.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I think it's the right decision.
And that is no problem. Like
that move right there, though.
I mean,
this is all.
That's all core.
That's all core right there. Wow.
It's hard to do that.
I mean, I know. Don't they have like pole dancing workouts, right?
Yes. With her?
No way.
No. I'm saying when you look at like the film of just like who's going to the crowd with Jerry Springer's like, hey, I got tickets to Jerry. Do you want to come see the stripper with me?
I think I would.
The whip dog of them.
I think there'd be more people than you think would do that, just as pure entertainment. I mean, that show's a wild show.
He's like, when I went,
hat down.
When I got invited to the Jerry Springer show.
When Allie and I first started dating, I took her. I flew her up to Chicago for a day show. We went to Oprah in the morning and Springer in the afternoon.
We made a day of it. It was good.
I think we have sound.
No, it cut out just for a second because the stripper assassinated me.
Oh Lord. Might have been YouTube getting us.
Daily, we're brought to you by Falaya. Falaya Real Estate is changing the way that real estate is bought and sold in the capital city. In fact, throughout the state of Louisiana. This is unbelievable. Look at Banks.
That's what I'm saying. He's such a cuck.
This guy, unbelievable. If 15 years ago,
there's a monkey on the stone pole.
If 15 years ago somebody would have told Banks, you're going to be married to a stripper named the Pole Assassin.
Hell yeah!
Get the fuck out of here!
I'm just a special teams guy.
No way, man. That ain't happening to me.
Wow.
Falaya Real Estate.
Falaya, you're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome, Falaya. The way that the real estate is bought and sold has changed in the game, and Falaya is right at the front of the line. Let them help you out, whether you're selling your home. This is for sale by owner on steroids. You get all of the MLS previews, Zillow, all of the spots. You also get e-sign documentation. This is all Falaya.com. Google and App Store. Download it today, Falaya Real Estate. We will talk New Orleans Saints coming up here in a couple of minutes. We talked, of course, the World Series with Mikey, and Mikey called it. He said that Atlanta was going to win this thing. They closed it out last night in 6.
Crazy
for the first time since 1995, Atlanta Braves world champs.
So Trevor Plouffe, people probably don't know who Trevor Plouffe is. He used to play, he was an infielder for the Twins. Pretty good player. Made a couple All-Star teams, I think. He does like this baseball podcast, I think, John Boy Media. In March, I want to say March 31st.
Wow. The early call?
He said Braves over Astros in 6 games in the World Series.
Jeez.
What are you on?
Wow. Did we go to Vegas with it?
What? I don't know, but what a freaking call.
That is a great call, especially to the public.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always say, back in May, I called Bray, you know what I mean? Like, it's on the record.
There's documentation.
Like, go back to it.
Would you rather have called it and not bet on it, or not told anybody and bet on it?
Oh, not told anybody and bet on
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. 100%.
But then you can't tell anybody after you collect. Okay.
But I can fan out my winnings and say this is from me saying that Atlanta was going to beat Houston 3 months ago.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, that's great. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a
I
big
love
call.
stories like that.
Big call.
All right, coming up here, we're going to talk to New Orleans Saints. If you have a Saints question, get inside of the bunker and ask it there. Nick Underhill is going to be here in a couple of minutes. We'll ask you about about Mike Thomas's status. Of course, the Atlanta Falcons and Saints squaring off this weekend. We were talking about Atlanta still. What a high for them last night. They win the World Series, and then Georgia named the #1 team in college football, and feels like they're going to win a national championship for the first time since 1980.
Right?
I don't know, man.
Because Atlanta's a cursed town.
It is.
Not anymore. It's cursed, broken.
But you can't get two. You can't get a baseball World Series.
This kind of feels like Tampa Bay, bro.
Hey, this is.
I mean, Tampa Bay.
Why not? Lloyd, why not?
Things just kind of started opening up for Tampa Bay. They started winning hockey championships. Their teams were going to the Major League Baseball World Series. Tom Brady shows up. Next thing you know, you're a world champ in your own stadium. You win the Super Bowl in Raymond James.
But I'm with you. I get it. I think
I'm still Raymond James.
Still Raymond James.
I see Georgia.
Yeah, why not?
It is Raymond James.
Is it?
You're right. Yep.
I think. I kind of feel like,
The stadium names change, but
80%,
they stay the same
80% confident here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Print it.
Put it on the poll.
Go ahead and print it.
Run with it. Apologize later.
But I don't see anybody beating Georgia.
No.
I really don't.
Not even Alabama.
I really don't. I don't see Alabama. They may be able to beat them once. I don't think you can beat them twice. You hear that, Chris Boyce?
Wait, when does
you got to beat them
Alabama
twice,
play
boy.
Georgia?
SEC championship.
That'll be the first one,
yeah, that'll be the first time.
and then you'll have a rematch.
We should get Chris Boyce over here to watch the game.
No.
with us. I just want someone
No.
else to experience it. I feel like it needs to be transferred to
Chris
else.
Boyce, who is a partner over at ADL in Ferguson, and of course over at Tin Roof Brewery, and a flag football coach who talks a ton of shit, is a psychopath about LSU sports and
flag football.
Flag football. Yes, he is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but are you
from one psychopath to another?
I was gonna say, who's more psycho, you or him?
If I was voting on it, I would probably say him, even though the outlier, in my opinion, is Ruben Patel.
Really?
Patel is probably.
I can see that actually.
Patel is the one that everybody was kind of looking around like. Oh,
I didn't know that.
I mean, we got a witness in the room. I won't give his name up, but he was there. Out of the three of us, the craziest in the pecking order. Yeah, I mean,
the pecker order.
Patel, Boyce, Culotta for sure, right? Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Okay.
I love that you air out all these people.
Thank you.
They're just like, the Patel, they were talking about you and Culotta. He heard you're a psycho.
Yeah,
He's like,
well,
God damn it.
That
stays with the 50 people watching flag football.
They called a pick on one of his players last night, which was a clear pick. He put his hands over his nuts to protect himself, just like a basketball player would. And in flag football, that's almost like the jersey being pulled on a hold. You know what I mean? A very easy call in which Patel went nuclear. I was kind of looking at the guy like, are you going to throw him out or do I need to throw him out?
Has anybody been ejected?
Yes. Yes. Not this season though.
Oh.
Last year there had to be rules written. You know what I mean? Like I think that it was all kind of understood that this is going to be a very calm Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, family-oriented crowd. Everybody's going to kind of play the part. Mm-mm. Coaches are dads. Everybody's going to be okay. I mean, last year was just Jerry Springer. I mean, it was.
So it
was the Jerry Springer show. I was at the center of a couple of controversies.
Oh, sure.
Yes, I was.
You're very calm. You're the Dave Aranda.
You know what? Looking back on it, wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. What are you going to do?
Here's a two-part question. One, do you play as a defensive? I guess flag football, is it all man-to-man, or do you play zones? Or
zone.
It's all zone?
Not all zone.
Mostly zone.
When the field kind of scrunches up when we get to the red area.
Hey, Coach O, come on.
Okay.
Okay,
and then your second question.
Easy.
Second question.
Easy.
Are parents more psycho? What sport are parents more psycho? Is it flag football, basketball, or baseball?
Baseball parents are the worst, and it's not even close.
Okay. I'm not a parent.
They're the worst.
And I'm a basketball and a football parent, and I am bad. But I have not seen some of the sites in basketball arenas and football playing surface that I've seen at baseball parks. I mean, like,
and
it is just.
We have a kid that's played every single sport.
It is amazing.
Baseball's the worst.
And just on time, here is Chris Boyce texting in.
I wondered if he was listening.
Yeah, big ha with the exclamation points. Gotta beat us twice, boys. Gotta beat us twice.
Oh, she likes to run zone when
So
he gets good.
backstory, Chris's wife, Juliet, is my friend, and I asked her if she would help us do a commercial for A-Bears because we always make fun of her with the boneless chicken coming home from work late, trying to get a chicken in the oven.
She's the one that's thrown in the oven, cooking over after the long, hard day's work.
God, I hope you won.
Yes, Juliet looked great Friday night at the Best Dressed Ball.
She did, and she was like, "I will if we beat Jordy's team tonight."
All
so
right.
make sure he knows and send him a text. So we're texting. I sent Jordy a screenshot. I was like, "Look at Jules' text. No response. Just crickets.
They love pile
Until I walked in today, and I was like,
I saw it last night. I was like, whatever, Katie. F you, Julie. Cut the fucking spot, why don't you? I mean, jeez.
Why'd you stay in carpool a little bit longer?
Shit. I don't know if we could have played any worse last night. I'll just say that. That'll be my final comment on this. We'll move on. Nick Underhill coming up here in a couple of minutes as we talk New Orleans Saints. Saints playing the Falcons this weekend. We'll ask him about the bounce back. Taysom Hill, his situation. What do you do at the quarterback spot?
Remember when I called Taysom Hill being quarterback?
You did call Taysom Hill.
And Max, too. It's all kind of come full circle.
It's all coming full circle. We'll see if Garrett Nussmeier gets to play. Next time Garrett Nussmeier plays, he loses his red shirt.
He has one game left,
one game left?
Yeah, I think I heard he has one game left before he cannot get red shirt anymore.
I wonder if you play him against ULM the whole game, and that's it.
Ooh.
Give Max a week off.
Or half. At least a half and half. Half and half.
I mean, because really you got to secure the win.
Yeah, go Max first half and Nussmeier second half.
You don't want to put him out there and put too much film so other teams are like, do we need to make a push to go grab Nussmeier from LSU in the transfer portal? Wouldn't you be a little concerned about that?
I feel like Nuss is locked in.
I think he's here.
I feel like from what I've been told to the current roster, there is a group, there's a core group in that locker room that is saying, we're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter who it is, where it is.
We can get this thing right.
Yeah, right.
Best
I mean, just
let's
let's trim the fat and let's all kind of just hunker down and see what happens, see who they hire. But until then, nobody's going anywhere, which I think is that's a sign of leadership, man. Yep. Yeah, that's a sign of thing that you have to have. Laura Cook, who is also my mother, says, Jordy, I saw you throw your body on the ground 3 times last night.
Oh.
That's bullshit calls, man. And I mean, our kids dropped the ball for the first time. Again, witness in the room. Do we drop passes like that? We don't drop the ball. We had 3 hit us in the face last night. 2 of them are touchdowns, and we lose by 6.
So
you know what I mean?
It's the little things. Inches are all around.
Yes. So you don't need to be playing like this going into the playoffs.
You're a physical reactor to what happens. You fall on the ground. You throw play sheets. Do you have a hat toss?
I don't throw play sheets. I call the play from the knees, which gives me a good. If we drop it, I go straight to the ground.
Do you have the play sheet laminated?
No.
Wristband?
No, I wear the.
Even better.
You really do?
Yeah.
Even better.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Boyce has got the play sheet.
Are you on the field? Are you still allowed to be on the field or off the field?
This is our first year off the field.
So you have to signal it in? Or do you just give
we got numbers.
You just give the numbers.
Yeah, right. But really, with the play is in. There's no play clock in flag, but there is like kind of a respected time period in between plays. Is that in between the play, I'll bring them over and kind of huddle them up. Everybody up real quick, and we'll get them in a huddle and call like.
So y'all are in a no huddle
and a lot of the times I'll call 2 plays.
Ooh, check with me, guy.
Yeah, absolutely. That way we can get to the line.
Get this play. Oh, and there's no play clock, so you have to worry about getting it in.
Absolutely.
That's a sign of a
But you can kind of catch them in substitutions.
Look at that.
Right.
So he'll look back over and you'll go.
Yeah. See you next week,
Jordy Culotta, offensive coordinator at LSU.
See you next week, buddy. Rube.
When's the next game?
Rube.
Well, the playoffs. We've got one last game on Thursday night, which should, and that was our 3rd loss last night.
What's the most you've ever lost in the season?
This is it. This is it.
So when do you see
I can feel the parents.
Again?
I can feel the parents in the looks after the game.
You're on the hot seat.
I think they are wondering
what
is going on. I will say that we all are 5th graders playing in a 6th grade league.
Oh,
right?
Okay, so you're playing up.
So we're playing up.
Nice.
So we're playing, but I'm not looking for excuses, and I'm not making
excuse
excuses.
I've ever heard from him.
It's not an excuse. I just want to make sure it's on the record. I just want to make sure it's on the record.
Again, when do you face Chris's team again?
It'll be the playoffs. It'll be the playoffs next week. I mean, what happens on Thursday night? They go by total score counts. So whoever at the end of the season has scored more points.
Like fantasy football.
Now Boyce and I each have 3 losses. So we'll be kind of tied for second, but whoever has scored the most points will be the 2nd seed if we both win out on Thursday night. We still got to get past Thursday
Who's the
night.
1st seed?
Who's
the 1 seed?
The Irish from Central, who had they 2 losses for us. We have not been able to get over the Leopard hump of the Irish.
And have they do
feature a Gronkowski type flag football player.
Ooh,
I mean, this kid is a total game changer.
Yeah, that's tough.
For them. Another text from Boyce coming in here. Let's see what Boyce has to say. It was 8 points. Okay, whatever, bro. Whatever.
People are asking, is Jordy lost the locker room?
Oh. We had a good meeting. And look, here's the deal. After the Boyce game, we had a game last night, so we played 2.
Oh, wow.
We played Boyce at 6:30, then we had a game at 7:30, and we rebounded.
Okay, that's huge.
So we left the park with a win last night.
Okay, that's good.
Winning the juice box.
That's right. The mindset has been restored. The ass chewing after game 1, I think, kind of really recalibrated some mindsets going into that second game, at least going into the playoffs.
Do you want to be here?
We're definitely going to practice Saturday morning. We'll definitely be on the levee Sunday morning. We'll be ready. We'll be ready for the playoffs. On put that fucking Capri Sun down.
I don't know. Out of your mouth.
You think I'm messing around right now, man?
I don't know if I'm ready to be a coach or to be.
No, you're not.
I am.
He's not.
You're not.
I don't know if me or Allie. Allie is more competitive than me, and this is our kid is gonna be. He's gonna have some serious constructive criticism.
Let me tell you the best thing, like Mikey, if I could offer just a bit of advice, the way to probably do it is like for you to coach Little Jay's team and me to coach your team.
That would have to be.
You know what I mean? Like
that
would probably, and it would probably peel the emotion out of it from the sense of, because you really do. Like, I hate to comp it to this, but it's like you're playing Madden with your kid.
I'm
you
with
know
you.
what I mean? I mean, like it's like you're playing I'm playing Chris Bush.
What are you looking
which
at?
we did in college and high school. We would stay up, all night, be all drinking and having fun. Yeah, right. playing Madden against each other. Now we're just doing it on the sidelines with our kids.
With their live children.
Right.
Little Culotta's off limits. The team's too good.
Exactly. I mean, it says. So it's you think about your Madden games.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Think about any controllers you broke. Think about any
I'm
coffee
a
tables
long
you
ways
kicked.
away from that, but I'm preparing already. I'm taking notes.
DRC Dr. Doc says, do they play real football too? Yeah, they play flag football and real football. Which I think that I am a huge, and this is all seriousness. Traction Battle of the Boot coming up here in a couple of weeks. If you have a flag football team, get involved there. It is fantastic to bring people around the state. Everybody from around the state comes in: Lafayette, New Orleans, Shreveport, Monroe, and you put together all of these kids and play this huge flag football tournament, which is so fun. And I will always advocate playing flag football, especially for kids like that are skill players, because it teaches timing. It teaches route running.
Body control.
It teaches body control. It teaches breaking down.
Hand-eye coordination.
Hand-eye coordination. There is a lot of benefit from coming from playing flag and going to play tackle. My son plays both, and he'll play flag on Thursday night, and he'll play tackle on Sunday, and I can see the benefits of his flag games on Sunday. Now, you still got to hit and wrap up and tackle and do all that stuff, but as far as like catching, moving, throwing, timing, all of that stuff, you can really perfect that on a flag football field, especially at the 5th, 6th, 7th grade level. I mean, it's high skilled out there, man. I mean, it's so much fun too. I mean, it is so much fun, and Chris Boyce and Ruben Patel are total psychopaths.
A lot of people are saying maybe you should give up the play calling duties too much on your plate.
No way.
Should we get to Nick Underhill before we lose everybody?
Yes, Nick Underhill next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Hebert's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, hebertsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. hebertsmarkets.com. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. Hebert's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, hebertsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. hebertsmarkets.com. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet. We talk New Orleans Saints every week here, and we do it with the best in the business. That is Nick Underhill. He is at neworleans.football. We ran long last segment talking about the lunatic flag football coaches here in Baton Rouge. Ruben Patel has caught wind of that. It doesn't seem like he likes that.
He texted you too?
Yes, he did. Nick Underhill is here with us talking New Orleans Saints. Nicky, good morning. How are you?
Ruben.
Hey, doing well. How's everyone doing up there?
Doing good, man. Not as good as Trevor Siemian could be doing this week. That was a hell of a performance for him on Sunday. Before we get to Siemian, Nick, you have covered the Saints for a while. You've got as good of relationships up there as anyone. The greatness of Sean Payton, do we take that for granted, or was Sunday just another great exposition of just how out in front he is as far as NFL coaches go?
I think that just by and large, everybody kind of maybe takes it for granted at this point. I mean, if he didn't win a Coach of the Year one of the last 2 years, winning games with Teddy Bridgewater, Taysom Hill, is Trevor Siemian going to be enough? Is that finally going to be what gets it done? I mean, he's won games over the last 3 years with 5 different quarterbacks playing 50% or more of the snaps. And these injuries that happen, for a lot of teams, they're dream-killing, season-ending, hopes and dreams are in the toilet. It's over. Your quarterback's done. You aren't going to win games. Here, they've been so successful with Breeze being out and Teddy Bridgewater coming in and, Jameis Winston starting and Taysom Hill starting, that the quarterback goes down. And I don't really think it changes my expectations for the season, and that might be delusional, and this might be the time where there's finally a reality check. But I just have so much confidence in their ability to coach because they demonstrated that they deserve that confidence. Winston goes down, and I'm like, all right, they're still going to win 10 or 11 games. It's not a big deal. I'm not panicked, in my coverage or anything like that. It's just, okay, that was a good win. This team can keep winning games, and that's just kind of where they're at. And, I mean, that just speaks to his ability. I mean, it's amazing what they're able to do, and whoever they play a quarterback this week, I think they're going to be fine.
Who do you expect to take snaps?
So, I mean, I had it wrong all last year until, Thursday that week. I found out that it was going to be Taysom and not Jameis. So I might be wrong again this time. And there might be a change of opinion at some point during the week. But, I kind of expect it to be Taysom if he's healthy and he's cleared and they think he's good to go. And it sounds like he has a good chance of getting cleared from that concussion. He competed well all summer. He was the guy running number 2 behind Jameis. He kept it competitive, and it just feels like he's probably positioned to do that. I mean, I could see an argument for Siemian, though. I think we saw some things when he came into that game that we hadn't seen from the offense in terms of the quick game and getting the ball out to the short areas of the field. And there were some aspects of the passing offense that looked like they became a lot easier with him at quarterback after Winston. And it kind of illustrated a little bit that some of those issues were a two-way street. It wasn't just all receiver. It was some quarterback. And Simeon was able to execute some things. But, I do think that if a team went into a game preparing to play Trevor Simeon, that I think the result would probably look a little bit different. I think he probably benefited from a little bit of the unknown. Tampa Bay's preparing to play a quarterback with a big arm that's going to throw it on the field. Now all of a sudden you're covering pot passes, and I think that helps you a little bit. So, and the other thing is Taysom played Atlanta really, really well last year. And the funny thing is that last year, if they went Atlanta, Denver, Atlanta, Breeze comes back, I think everybody's opinion of Taysom is quite different. I think he looks like someone with a lot of potential if his season ends after that third game. Instead, they go to Philadelphia, the wheels come off, and all the bad stuff's out there, and it kind of revealed who he was a little bit. But he played Atlanta really, really well. So I could see it being him. And really the only thing he needs to figure out how to do. You watch Winston, pocket starts collapsing on him. There's nothing there. He takes off and runs. For whatever reason, Taysom doesn't have that instinct. And if he can somehow figure out a way to have that instinct and run when, first read isn't there, second read isn't there, off you go. If he could do that, I think he would be so much more dynamic, and I think that would make this team really dangerous.
Obviously, there's a lot of Taysom Hill talk out there for being the starting quarterback. Coming off of this concussion, what was the severity of the injury? Because it seems like he was out longer than I would expect somebody with a concussion, especially who plays a little bit of everything. So it wasn't like he's never kind of been dinged before. And with that said, how big of a concern is that going forward? Because it seems like he might be – how many concussions has he had in his career? Is that a legitimate concern for the Saints moving forward?
I do think it was bad. I kind of heard that there was a little bit of maybe extra precaution with it, just being extra careful, taking his time, making sure that everything was good and not rushing back. There might have been a scenario where if they wanted to get aggressive with it, maybe he could have been able to suit up for this last game. But I think he just took a step back and made sure he was right, and he put his health before everything. And I think that's usually the right decision in these situations. If you have any type of concern, you don't want to mess around with head injuries, man, because, that's lifelong stuff at that point. So, he's had a few, and it's something to watch. I think he needs to be careful with it. I do think that playing quarterback, he's probably protecting himself a little bit better, even running. The way this one happened, he's out there and he just kind of gets lit up going out for a pass. But yeah, they need to make sure that that's all the way in the clear. And if it's not, and I don't think that's going to be an issue. I mean, you can't push it. I mean, it's a lifelong thing. At that point, you get another one too early. So I think he'll be okay. And if he is cleared, he needs to be cleared all the way. And I think that'll probably be the case this week.
Sean Payton has come out, multiple times in the last 3 or 4 days saying that he's happy with the quarterback room and they're going to stay with in-house. With the trade deadline obviously just passed, was there any heat on some quarterbacks maybe that they're looking at to try to get into the quarterback room, maybe not starting right away, but maybe to get us some help later on, or were those just kind of like, smoke and mirror rumors?
I think there's probably an element of having to do your due diligence on anyone. And, like, let's say there was a report that they made calls on Russell Wilson. Like, let's say Russell's actually available and he's someone you're looking at and you're like, hey, if he became available in the offseason, maybe we make a move and go get him. I think you have to make those calls now just to make sure somebody doesn't get ahead of you. So I think that there's some checking in on a lot of different guys. I don't think there was anything super serious out there. The one thing that's kind of interesting to me, and this is just me speaking on my thoughts, I haven't heard anything to think that they're interested in him yet, but the fact that Phillip Rivers basically came out and said, like, hey, like, I would like to come here and
call me,
lead this team. Yeah, that's a call that I would make. And even if it's not necessarily you bring him in and he's guaranteed the job, sign him to your practice squad. You can sign old guys to your practice squad now, get him in your building, see if he's better than what you have, let him learn the offense for a few weeks. And then in December, if he's ready to go, you got another guy. And this is someone that's a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. He completed 70% of his passes in Indianapolis last year, 4,000 yards. What do you have? 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, something like that. Like, he's a viable guy. I would see what's up with that situation, just because, I mean, this defense is so good. I think that if you're good enough on offense, you have a shot. I mean, they beat Tampa Bay, they beat Green Bay. I don't think they're They're a team that has Super Bowl expectations or aspirations. I don't think that changes with Rivers being there. But you get in the playoffs, you've beaten the teams that are going to be in the playoffs with you. You get hot, you got a shot. And granted, that could happen with anyone, but I think your odds are a little bit better with Phillip Rivers and Simeon or Taysom Hill. And if they aren't, have the comparison. Make them beat them out.
Nick Underhill from NewOrleans.football. He is on Twitter, and, of course, you can read the content there. Make sure you are subscribed to NewOrleans.football if you're looking for the latest on Saints news. I saw a tweet, and I thought it was spot on. I wish I could give reference to it, but I saw the meaning of the tweet saying that Mark Ingram is a great example of the city of New Orleans. If you love New Orleans will love you back endlessly. That scene of him going through the Who Dat chant before the game gave me goosebumps. How was it covering that, and what does it mean to have Ingram back on the roster?
Yeah, that was one of the it was kind of a moment that you aren't going to forget being there. I mean, just feeling the passion of the fan base and him going through that. It was a scene for sure. And look, I think he's someone even, before going back, he always felt like, to me, I wrote a story about him a few years back and just kind of talking about how he was the heart and soul of the team and just being in the locker room, the way people gravitate towards him. I've never seen like somebody have that type of pull where just everybody wants to be around him. And it just kind of felt like how Mark went, the team went. And, that bond with the city, it's I think it's special for him. He started out, he was kind of, viewed a little bit as a draft disappointment, turns it around, fights his way back. There's just kind of like a resiliency there. And where he's at in his career, I mean, to be 31 and still be viable, I mean, I think it was a great move for them to bring him in. You saw it right away. With the way they used him, I mean, I actually would say maybe they didn't use him enough in that first game. I thought Alvin had a few too many carries. I thought Mark disappeared a little bit in the third quarter. And when they went back to him, he made that impact. I think he's going to, be important for them down the stretch. And I don't think this is like a washed-up player or anything. I think you saw right away that, there's still some bursts there, a little bit of juice. And I think they're going to get everything they can out of him. And, great move for them. And I just think emotionally, though, I mean, having that guy in the locker room on an offense where things are tough, I think it's a good move for them. And just his attitude and that, I think, can help them maybe get through some of the tough times that they're probably going to have going forward, being without Winston, not having enough weapons on offense.
Was there any, like, were the Saints close to making a trade at all? I know, people thought that maybe Odell Beckham Jr. Could have been a target or anything like that. Were we in the running to make a splash move, or are we pretty happy with what we got?
I think that there was a decent likelihood that like someone like Darius Slayton might have ended up here.
Oh.
There was a little bit of momentum towards that, last week, and then the Giants lost two receivers on Monday night. Sterling Shepard and Pettis, I think, is the other one, and they just kind of got into a situation where they wouldn't have really been able to field the team without him, and that kind of changed his availability. I don't know how close they got to some other things, but I know that was one that was definitely on the table. And then I just think with some of these other guys, when the price gets a little bit too high, like for Odell, like if they're asking for a first or a second or something like that for him, because they got to pay the salary too. When you're on a team, like I think maybe last year's team coming into it, when they're, going crazy for Clowney, that makes sense because you're one guy away from winning the Super Bowl. Right. It's like, you know what, no cost is too high. At this point, the cost is high, and you get Odell, and if you give up some currency that maybe helps you get a quarterback next offseason for a guy that's going to help you maybe win a playoff game, but you aren't guaranteed to win a Super Bowl by getting them, or you don't think, this is the missing piece and we're going all the way with this guy. I think at that point you got to dial back and just kind of be smart about how you're using your resources.
Obviously, no trades are made for the Saints during the trade deadline as it's come and gone. But Deshaun Jackson got waived yesterday by the Rams if they couldn't find a suitor. Is that something that the Saints would entertain as just another weapon, another wide receiver that might be able to help the offense a little bit, like an established playmaker? And then off of that, Phillip Rivers, would he come in only if he were the starter, or would he actually come in and compete, do you think?
So with Jackson, he would have to clear waivers. They changed the way the these moves process changes after the trade deadline. So now every player has to go through waivers. Somebody can claim them. I don't know if anyone's going to claim that contract. If he does get through, I've heard there's mutual interest between him and the Raiders. So that's maybe one destination. The Chargers have interest in him. I would think the Saints would have to have interest in him at this point. Any wide receiver that I think has been on one of the 31 other NFL teams should be viewed as good enough to play on this team, because I don't know if the Saints have more than 1.5, 2 guys that would start for another NFL team this year. So I think they should be interested in him. As far as Rivers, I would imagine he would probably have to have some type of insurances that the job would be his, if not right away, eventually. So, I mean, the fantasy scenario of having him come in and compete with Taysom Hill, I doubt that's something he wants to do. I don't think he's going to leave his – what does he have, like 9 kids? I don't think he's going to leave his 9 kids at home.
And he's going to high school.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, honey, I'm going to leave you with the 9 kids to see if I can beat out Trevor Siemian. Like, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Sit your ass down. You ain't going anywhere.
Now.
That's right.
Back up the bus.
Nick Underhill. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. I'm done.
New Orleans.football is the site. Nick Underhill is the publisher. He is the man. Make sure that you subscribe to the site. Get up with the podcast as well. They got a great YouTube station. Make sure you're subscribed there at New Orleans.football. It's being reported this morning that Mike Thomas has had a setback. Anything that you can add on that?
Yeah, it's a new injury, a new ankle injury.
He hasn't done anything.
Yeah, I know, man. It's supposedly separate from the other one.
Oh.
At this point, when he was coming back from PUP, there was like optimism, and I was talking to people like, yeah, Mike will be back sooner than later, and it seemed like things were heading the right direction even before this. And I wrote this on my site last week. Like, it just seemed like there was a little bit more negativity, and then more negativity this week. And I don't know when he's going to come back at this point. It's impossible to gauge. It just feels like there's a lot going on there, and he's got to get his body right and everything, and maybe he comes back and helps the team. I think he has until week 11 to do that. So what's that, the Philadelphia game? The window closes then. If he isn't back practicing, so from week 6 you got a 5-week window for a guy to start practicing. If he doesn't start practicing, he's done for the season. So I mean, this situation like officially has some urgency, given that there's a new situation he has to overcome to get back on the field. So I don't know. We'll see if we see him this year. That's kind of the approach. Just treat it like a bonus if he does play. But I do think even if he wanted out, I think he needs to show everybody at some point that he's healthy. I don't know how you trade for him if you don't see him play. So,
that's where I was going to go with that. If he, let's say he misses the whole year, is he someone that maybe in the offseason you package him with maybe I don't know, draft pick or whatever to try to go get the quarterback that you want?
I mean, if he doesn't play this year, I think it becomes extremely hard for the Saints to trade him. I mean, he has a $15 million base salary next year, I think, and that goes with him wherever he goes. I don't know who would take that on without seeing him play. Somebody would probably offer the Saints a low ball offer that has a lot of cap space, and it could put the team in a really bad situation to where they don't get the value back for the player. So it's a tough spot. I mean, the Saints, I don't know. I mean, it feels like Mike has a little bit of leverage over them in this situation if he's willing to hold out his services, and you can't trade him. I don't know. I don't know where it goes.
It's a tough situation.
What's his end game here? Because it seems like you say he has leverage, but if he obviously doesn't want to play for the Saints with this phantom ankle injury again. What is his end game? Just to get out and go where? Like, he doesn't seem like he has an actual plan with what he's doing. He just doesn't want to play for the Saints at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that he doesn't want to play for the Saints at the moment. So I don't want someone to say, like, I don't want to read a blog and someone, Nick said he doesn't. No, I'm not saying that.
Put my name on it.
You guys are saying that. I'm staying away from that one.
Yeah. But, we do not want to piss off Mike Thomas.
But yeah, I don't know what his end game is, honestly. I mean, if he's upset, let's say theoretically he's upset with the way things have gone, some of the stories that have went out about him. I think he's just. If that were the case, it just feels like, hey, like, let me out. That would be the end game, I guess. Like, find a way out, and he doesn't care how it happens. Mike doesn't care what return they get for him. And in fact, if you were to get traded somewhere else and a team gives up a 5th-round pick instead of a 2nd or 1st, that's better for him because there's going to be a better team around him. So, the way players are just kind of looking around now, I think, and they want some control over their situations. And that's just kind of where sports are heading. The NBA's there, and football players have tried. Football contracts don't quite work the same way, so it's a little bit harder. But I just think it's hard for him to end up in the situation he wants to end up in without people seeing that he's healthy. I mean, I just think there would have to be some desire to say, hey, I want to pay this guy $15 million, because a lot of the teams with a ton of cap space, they usually aren't good teams, and I don't know if that's a situation that he wants to end up in.
You heard it here first from Nick Underhill. Mike Thomas is going to beat the hell out of Lloyd from the Jordy Culotta show. That's right. How cool was last weekend? I know that you keep a very stern wall between the fandom and covering the Saints in the NFL, and you're as a professional and as good as they come in covering a local team. But how cool was that in the Dome last weekend to see everybody back in it, the music playing, everybody dancing around in a win?
Yeah, I mean, look, it feels normal. I mean, life gets back to being normal. I was up at LSU for a game recently. Just being in those settings in general, it's just kind of great to kind of have the sense of community back and just see life kind of, getting back to a little bit more of a normal, to a sustainability. I think there's a lot of stuff still going on out there that people got to be worried about and cautious about and smart about. But the fact that we can have these settings back and just feel like regular people is great. And then that game, man, seeing them beat the Super Bowl champs, like, there aren't a lot of games you go to where a team legitimately wins a game that they absolutely have no business winning. And when those things happen, I mean, those are the games you kind of remember covering or being at, regardless of your media or there as a fan. You remember those games forever. And I think this is one of those games where, it's just kind of going to stick in your mind. And in the post-Breeze era, they beat Tom Brady in the Bucs with the third-string quarterback. Like, that stuff doesn't happen. And that game right there is when Sean Payton's up to go into the Hall of Fame, whoever's presenting him, like, that's the game you're going to bring up first. It's just, it shouldn't happen. And it's a game where you see where coaching matters. And there aren't a lot of games like that. So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty incredible to be in there, the atmosphere, the game, all of it. I mean, it's just kind of one of those special moments that you realize in the moment that it's special.
Real quick, fun question on the way out. Who presents Sean Payton? Would it be Bill Parcells?
So, like, at that thing, they have a meet. They have a meeting at the Super Bowl every year. It's a bunch of media people, and someone makes the argument. Right now, it's Jeff Duncan. He's the guy that would make that case. And, depending how long Jeff stays in the business, he's a young guy. I assume it'll still be him at that point. So he would be the one. And then, if Sean actually made it the presenter at the thing, it probably would be Bill Parcells. I mean, that's his guy. So that would be, I think that would probably be who would do it.
Keep up the great work, man. Thank you, as always, for the time, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, man, there he is from New Orleans.football, Nick Underhill. Best in the business, Nick_Underhill is where you find him on Twitter. This is from Mike Thomas that was just published at 8:52 a.m. So it just came. Yeah, right. Anybody got Lloyd's contact?
Oh, no. About to go private like the pole assassin.
He tagged Lloyd, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Touch my Twitter.
For whatever reason, I just lost it. Do you have that pulled up, the statement?
I do. So this is from Michael Thomas's Twitter.
I got it. Here we go.
Let's read it at the same time. I've always been a man of faith in these past few notes. Go ahead.
Michael Thomas tweeted out at 8:52 a.m. I have always been a man of faith in these past few months. My faith has truly been tested. As many of you know, early last season, I injured my ankle and worked extremely hard over the next few months to get back in time to finish the season. Unfortunately, the rehab didn't go as planned, and earlier this offseason, it was apparent I would need to have a procedure to repair the injury. Since then, the team and I have worked diligently day and night to rehab and get me back on the field. Unfortunately, there has been another small setback, which we will have to address. To my displeasure, I will not be able to make it back in time for this season, but will do everything in my power to get back to the player I have always been. I know God doesn't make mistakes, so I will continue to follow in his path. I can't wait to be back on the field in front of the best fans on the planet. Michael Thomas is out for the year.
How do you feel now, Lloyd?
I feel the same way. I know a liar when I see one.
I don't know if it's Phantom.
He didn't say anything about the Saints. The best fans of the planet could mean anything to him.
Oh, that's a Saints. That's a Saints reference there.
Yeah.
That's a Saints reference.
Come on, Lloyd. Go easy.
Tinfoil hat is back on.
It is back on.
Gonna sit out the entire year.
Small setback.
Thomas
we don't know
is
what
done.
the setback is yet.
You know what? At this point,
Small setback.
probably the best case scenario. Just Trevor Siemian,
Phillip Rivers.
whoever it is under center.
Just
he's
get us
not
to the
been happy.
playoffs.
Just get him right. Just get him right. It
And then
feels
we'll
like if he'd have come back, he'd have had a setback on the field anyway. I mean, this thing has been contentious since day one.
Yeah.
It's just time to maybe just tap out of it, put him in the rehab center, get him right, get him 100% for training
for
camp.
next year, and you
Because
know what?
I'm with Nick. As good as he is, and at one point he was probably the best wide receiver in the NFL, or at least in the discussion of the top 3. Right now, I don't know that there would be a trade suitor for him.
Right.
I mean, who wants that price tag up against somebody who now you're starting to think is getting a little bit of an injury bug, is getting a little, not injury prone, but this is a hell of an injury that he's dealing with.
2 years.
And not to mention, he's had a little bit of some mental stuff. I mean, like dealing with him over the last couple of seasons has not been as smooth as it was the first 3. And again, I am tiptoeing here because I don't want to piss off Mike Thomas.
Like
I'll
Lloyd
do
had.
that. That's fine.
But
Would you flip Mike Thomas for Odell Beckham straight up?
No.
Which team? Like, which one's saying no?
Keep Thomas.
I would keep Mike Thomas.
Yes.
I would keep Mike Thomas.
Odell hasn't done anything.
You
He's on the field.
You're
He's
getting,
playing football.
You're getting Michael Thomas, but the issues that you have with Michael Thomas, you're getting at times 10.
Yeah. I love the thought of having both of them. Well, I mean, that's what they tried to do. They tried to do that yesterday. I mean, they tried to make a play and get him in here and put him alongside at least and have another threat for him. And I think those two on the field together is sure. I mean, that's probably a dumb sentence, but I mean, 1-on-1, 1-by-1, I would still take Thomas.
Yeah.
I still think
So
that
Michael Thomas doesn't get hurt if Odell comes in yesterday.
No, that's not true.
Oh, Lloyd.
Oh, now he's getting him on the. He's getting
no,
him
but I
on
mean,
the-
I do believe that there is something in Mike Thomas is saying, I just wash the season for me. You know what I mean? Like, and there's probably a little bit of Trevor Siemian. You know, like I don't.
Look, let's win 10, 11 games, get to the postseason, win maybe one, go home, sign Aaron Rodgers in the offseason, and we're good.
And then Michael Thomas.
You saw Denver move Von Miller yesterday.
Yep.
A lot of people thinking they're moving Von Miller to get into
get-
the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes this offseason to make some. Does Aaron Rodgers want to go to Denver without Von Miller though?
Hey,
I mean, if
Aaron
I'm,
Rodgers, why don't you come play for Sean, baby?
Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport,
And the who's the guy we drafted this year?
not on Yamada.
The other
No, oh yeah, from Houston.
Oh, Turner?
that guy.
Turner, Peyton Turner.
Yep.
All right, so Mike Thomas done for the season. It's good to see the Carpool Queen back on the set,
Thanks.
on the couch.
Keeps us in check.
And we'll be back to it with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Just
Lloyd's
a big
still
old-
angry. Lloyd
yeah.
is sitting here fuming.
Smoldering.
He is
He
small.
really
He has
is.
a smoldering look.
He
He's
does. He is
actually you're
upset.
pondering like
I'm thinking, well, Rodgers wanted to go to Colorado, I'd imagine, for a couple of reasons that we, would both have in common. But once that weed becomes
it's legal
legal in
here.
Louisiana, he'll be fine.
We
So
can get
that's-
him on relief med, bro.
without a doubt.
I mean,
But this is Michael Thomas, I swear. Wait, other ankle. How? What? What were y'all
maybe
doing?
it's not the other ankle. Maybe it's just a different type of injury on the same ankle. Who knows?
Well, that's what he didn't want to release because he didn't want them to be a setback for that ankle for
shut
possible
up, Lloyd.
suitors to come get him.
Shut up. You're giving me a
Michael
headache.
Thomas, we love you. We still
God
love you.
sakes. Mike Thomas is fine. Mike, we love
I
you.
can guard Mike.
Get your okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He run by you on crutches, bro.
Yeah. He'll pull stiff arm you. You'll be the little kid.
He can have two ankles. He can have two ankles up,
Somebody's coming
crushing
for you,
past
Lloyd.
you.
Yeah.
Go out there with your CD Deuce jersey.
I'll bust out the high school jersey.
Yeah, right.
At least it's mine.
Everybody have a good day. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Jordy Culotta Show. Everything's podcasted by RMB Builders. Shout out to Nick Underhill.
Shout out Pole Assassin.
Yes, the Pole Assassin.
Pole Assassin.
Coach Jeff Banks. Shout out to the
He didn't want any of this
Shout
to
out
happen.
to the Flag Football League.
Easy.
Shout out to the psycho parents.
Yeah. Salute.
If you're
Present. Here.
See you in the playoffs.
Yes.
You think that people knew about this? That he had
Pole
left his
assassin?
wife?
Yes,
Because now
absolutely.
I didn't know it, and now it's very public. So we're like, oh god,
Well,
I
that's
thought
a,
I
I'll
kind of
tell you what,
got
that's
away
a
from
combo.
this thing.
That's a
Jeff kind of
serious-
looks like the type of guy that's like, hey,
that doesn't matter.
We're going to the strip
see
club
the
on a
Pole
Tuesday
Assassin?
night. Yeah.
right.
That's
Tell you about her monkey?
That's a combo. You have him leaving for a stripper, and then you have obviously Sark had his own own demons that he had to overcome.
God, what a hell of a coach's
Texas.
meeting that must be.
Yeah.
Hook 'em, baby.
Hook 'em. That's how you like it, Pole Assassin.
Have a good day.